powered by Riverside.
Welcome to a special edition of the World's Beautiful Game Podcast. As we go live during the games right now, we got Uruguay and Saudi Arabia playing out their last few minutes of stoppage time, tied 1-1. But we're gonna break down as much as we can. A short little pod today. Will, how's it going, man? How you liking the World Cup so far?
Good. Definitely surprises already to start off with. So it's been exciting and disappointing and it's kind of shocking and it's like, all right.
I know. In our pool that we got going on, it's been very interesting. The results and the different games that people have chosen. Doing pretty well myself. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised that I'm doing as well as I am. But this game and these games today have put a little damper in my spirits of how I was doing. So, but anyway, let's go. We'll go with the really quickly through some of the ones from the top. So, Mexico, South Africa, the opener. What did you think of it, man?
I don't think it was as good as it, they made it seem 2-0. Yeah, it was a 2-0 win for Mexico, but South Africa didn't really have much in it. So I feel like Mexico definitely lacked two, and they should have put a lot more on them. 3 red cards in the game, so that's an exciting start. But yeah, it was what it was. I feel like Mexico needs to step it up a little more because that wasn't good enough for me.
It for sure was not the start that I think they expected. They got booed by their own fans after being up 1-0 because they just didn't seem to be going for it, or like exactly. It's almost like they kind of like sat back. They were like, okay, we got the goal. Let's hold it down. Let's make sure that we don't do too much. But I mean, in the end, Raul Jimenez did get that goal. Big moment for him with his dad passing away 3 months ago, so it was a little emotional for him. That his dad, he scored and he dedicated to his dad. So that was big. I think for them, as one of the host nations, good results, but not as crazy as we thought it was. And then, I think the game that outshined them that same day was that South Korea Czechia game at the end. It was at night. Crazy. It came
first
down
half was
to
a bit boring. Yeah, first half was the second half turned out.
But it picked up in the second half with South Korea drawing late in that game. Sonny had a little bit of a stinker. The captain for South Korea had several opportunities in the first half. He just couldn't get it to go down. It seems to be aging a little bit more than we realize. We know that his move to the MLS obviously is probably one that some of us are like, that means he must.
Well, he kind of said himself that he wanted to come here because the World Cup was coming here, so it kind of made a easier transition for him. And then and it's pretty much on his way out. But yeah.
As we all know, it's called the Retirement League, and he's kind of, I think, showing it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an exciting game. Yeah, we'll go on to game 3, host nation number 2. First game, Canada
talk about
versus Bosnia.
Talk about an upsetting start. If Mexico did bad, Canada did worse.
At least they came back to draw and save a point in their first game, which I think is super important. A little less important this World Cup because it does seem that as long as you get 4 points, you should be good to go into the next round. But for them as a host nation, they had a really big celebration prior to the game that looked really intense, and like the fans are really into it. So disappointing for their fans and Jesse Marsch as they couldn't squeak out a victory. They did attempt to do it at the end of the game. They were going real hard, but didn't seem they just weren't clinical enough to end that and get that win with Bosnia. Bosnia looked strong in the air, though.
They did. Oh yeah, of course.
So Bosnia, obviously, if you guys did watch prior to leading up to the World Cup, they had some tough battles to get to this position, and they showed why they almost beat Canada there in the end on that one. So good game there. And then we'll go into the other ones first before we talk about the United States. Qatar, Switzerland, a bit of a shocker. We all had Switzerland winning like 12-0, but it didn't turn out that way. They actually there was some controversy there. I don't know if you saw, but the guy that scored the tying game for Qatar apparently got a Rolls Royce after scoring his goal. So how much we should check FIFA's bank account to see if any deposits are made there as well.
Absolutely not. Definitely not.
No, Switzerland, a team that has been strong in qualifying. We talked about it a little bit in the build-up to this World Cup, that we expected them to kind of breeze through this group. We thought they were the favorites, and they did
Yeah,
not. They
I
disappointed.
kind of had one of the highest scores. I had it at 4-1.
Yeah, I had 3-0 on that one, so I was shocked the way it did. And it looks like Saudi Arabia and Uruguay did finish here 1-1. Tie, another result that
Another
did
tie.
not go the way that we did not expect to go.
Half the games, yeah.
Yeah, so Uruguay disappointing. Was this expected based on how they did against the U.S. when the U.S. beat them 5-2? I'm trying to think now. Was that actually a good result?
Yes and no. But I think what's really kind of driving it is the clash between coach and players. It seems like obviously it's affected a lot more than it should. Maybe they should pull a Tunisia, and which we'll get to in just a sec. Yeah. But yeah, Qatar Switzerland is a good tie. Good little surprise, so I like it.
I mean, good for Qatar, right? Because Qatar obviously was not expected to win.
Out.
Moving to the next game with Brazil and Morocco, who I had picked the tie. I have said from the start, I think Brazil and Spain should not be considered big favorites to win the World Cup. I have not seen enough from them. They are all they didn't do well in qualifying. Morocco's a strong team from the last World Cup.
Brazil didn't do well in qualifying. They ended up.
I mean,
no, actually, they were in.
They got beat by Paraguay, in Ecuador. They got beat several times.
You can't say Ecuador because Ecuador is second in the group, so you can't say that Ecuador.
Fair, but my point, just in general, is Brazil's not as strong. We all know Brazil's not as strong as they used to be. They're not.
Oh yeah, we gotta stop comparing them to obviously the fucking greatest players that have ever, that pretty much have graced the field. Obviously, they're not anywhere close to them. So everybody keeps trying to say, well, they're not Brazil of old. Yes, of course not. They definitely will never be because those guys aren't anywhere close. The last person to get as close as to that is Neymar, and obviously he's not even playing. So.
What did you think of that one, though? Because that one was a big game that everybody was expecting to be a fun one. It was definitely
a bit of disappointment to me. I know Romario said, if you think that this tie was a bad thing, then you don't really know the sport. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's still making an excuse because I feel like the way Morocco, the way that they pretty much played the game and controlled the tempo and dictated everything, that's what Brazil needed to do. And Brazil was just kind of playing catch up and trying to keep up with Morocco. So, of course, Morocco is no slouch. And obviously, they're one of the powerhouses of Africa. So, I don't necessarily think it was a bad result. Yeah, obviously, the runner-ups. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad result. It's just obviously I think a lot of people downplay how good Morocco is because they just don't watch football enough. So I know it's the last World Cup, but then people that don't really know, they're just like, oh, it's Brazil. They're supposed to win. So I don't think it's a terrible result. Could Brazil, played better? Sure. But I mean, I wouldn't expect that Morocco played phenomenal. Like I said, they played, they were outstanding.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to give kudos to the team that's better. And I think this is one of those games that they were definitely the better team. They have been better for years now with the squad that they've been building up from the youth system. You just have to give credit to that team, and that some of it is Brazil, yes, and I think more of it was Morocco just being a better team in this particular game. But we'll move on quickly to the next one. Yeah, Scotland, Haiti.
Scotland, which is probably the most controversial one so far. Haiti definitely got cheated. No, I know it wasn't Scotland's fault, but the ref was absolutely dog shit. He was atrocious and he was horrible. And there's 2 red cards, or at least 2 penalties should have given, and a red card for that studs up on the knee. That was just absolutely atrocious. So I don't really have too much to say except that was a terrible refereeing match, and I think Haiti played their ass off, and it should have been a tie. And
this is one of those. This is one of those where we want to defend our CONCACAF teams, right? Because a lot of people talk down on our region, and obviously our region has done really well so far. South America, not so hot. Europe, we're still to see how that turns out, but we obviously had a result there for one of the European team actually getting a victory, undeserved. Not their fault. I will say not their fault. It still comes down to the referee. The teams just play what they play. But 28 years since they've been in the World Cup, Scotland. So their first win to start the group. Big 3 points for them. And then we'll move on to the game that really shocked everyone. I would say this is the shocking result so far.
Because everybody was asleep. So
I did stay up to watch this one, and I was kind of floored by seeing Australia just come out and just put it down to Turkey. Turkey just looked like they could not keep up with Australia.
Well,
At times, Turkey did seem like they had a handle on the game, and then all of a sudden, no. So interesting.
well, yeah,
What do
it's a big shock to me because I said the toughest team for the U.S. is going to be Turkey, and if this is what Turkey looks like, I'll take it. I mean, I want to see Turkey move on to the next round because they have a good team all around. They have good players, young players, and I think they've definitely had to battle a lot throughout Europe a lot of years. But yeah, it's just a shock. So wow.
the Socceroos came out to play. They have shown the world that hey, you guys all are counting us out, but we're the best team in this group is basically what they came out and said with that result because clearly the U.S. has not been the European opponent in the last 9 games. So it's going to be an interesting next game for the U.S. But great job on Australia to come out and really put a stamp on this World Cup to start it off. And then we're going to jump into
Don't really need to say much about the next one.
really became the other football. Touchdown score here, 7-1. Germany just beating down poor Curacao.
Highlight Curacao scored their first World Cup ever, a goal. So
I think that was the most exciting part of that whole thing, right? When they got that tying goal. What a highlight for everyone, that country, those people. They had I think they had like 6,000 people in the crowd is something that I heard, which is really great because this is a small nation. So they got to enjoy that for 5 seconds, and then Germany came out of that water break and just beat the living hell out of them. So
yeah, I mean, at least then it wasn't like they scored when that was 7-0, so it was actually 1-1, so it was actually more exciting.
I think they lit a fire under Germany. Who
oh yeah, I gave them a reality check real quick. They said, "Whoa, wait a minute," and then so yeah, nothing to it, but cool.
And then next up, Japan, Germany, Netherlands, another game that
an exciting game. I love Japan. I love to see the way they just work at their work ethic, everything all around. From the coach to the players to the fans. I think Japan.
I think that was the best. I think that was the best. Besides, obviously, the opening crowds for the home team's crowd that was at a game because both the Netherlands and Japan had massive amounts of people in that stadium. I really tried to go to this one. I wanted to be there, but it was just impossible to get a ticket that was affordable. So, but yes, I will say Japan's goal a little lucky. The second one because it hits Kamada's head and it just kind of catches the goalie off guard.
It threw off his save. But that's just part of it. Hey, listen, deflections are part of the game. Which obviously we can talk about Belgium in just a bit, but
But I think the fair result. I think 2-2 was right for how this game played out.
Netherlands was giving it to them, and Japan just wouldn't give up. So same thing. First half was
organized,
slow,
organized, man.
Just kind of went straight through it. So yeah, I loved it. It was good. I think that's. I think I had the Netherlands just squeaking out, so 2-1. So it did. It was a surprise to me. Or I had them 1-1. Actually, no, I did have a tie.
I had a draw. So
yeah, I had a draw. So actually, yeah, you know why? Because I feel like the Netherlands put so much pressure on themselves that they don't perform as good as they should have. I feel like they slowly died out, and Japan just said we're not letting the foot off the gas. So good result.
Yeah, I was curious after Van Dijk scored his goal whether or not it was kind of going to become a little bit of a rout and the Netherlands were just going to run with it. But no, Japan was super organized, very well played, methodical. Like they waited for the opportunities and they took them when they got them. Like I said, a little luck, but still they made their own luck for that one. So
shout out to Japan for always being
standing,
and cleaning up after the stadium. And
Jameis Winston, I'm gonna do it with you, man. I was actually a little critical of him being part of this whole thing, but I've seen a lot of his clips now, and I'm kind of glad that
he's actually fanning it. Yeah.
Well, he's not just fanning; he's actually doing a lot, to bring people together, which is really great.
Yeah,
but cool there. Yeah. Next game up was probably the shocker.
To me, the biggest shocker so far. Biggest shocker.
Yeah, with Ecuador not being able to produce a goal, Ivory Coast winning it late, and putting a goal on a team that's really hard to score against. Was really surprised by that one, and Ivory Coast, kudos to them for eking out a win at the end there.
Yeah, and when I say it's the biggest upset or the biggest shock to me, and not because Ivory Coast is not a good team, because Ivory Coast obviously can play, but you could see throughout the whole game, Ecuador is pretty much dominating, and they had their way. And if those shots that they missed would have converted, it would have been 3-4
Was it
nothing,
4 posts they hit? I think it was literally four
something
posts.
like that. And then Ivory Coast did hit a couple, but
Enter Valencia hit 3
yeah,
himself. So
changes
yeah,
the tempo, changes the game, it changes everything up. So I think that to me was the biggest upset because I think Ecuador, yeah, I don't know if it just off their game.
I think that was just the other side of luck, right? That's the luck that
Mhm,
you can't
yeah,
find, and you couldn't get the back of the net there. So,
yeah. So
but big
we'll
win for
see.
Ivory
I think they'll
Coast
step it up, and yeah, we'll see what happens with the
to
group.
start.
Who wins what?
Next game up
Sweden,
already
Tunisia.
has crazy ending. Well,
Yeah,
crazy the aftermath of this
yeah,
game because Tunisia has already fired their coach, which is
yeah.
the dumbest
Dumb.
thing that
What
anyone
did
could
they
ever
expect?
do.
Did they expect that Sweden was just like a slouch team? Like you see the players on the team, you saw how they came out. They're playing well, and Tunisia kept up with them a bit, but they just
Hannibal tried his best to make it
yeah.
happen for his team, and it was just hard.
Sweden was just converting. They weren't missing anything. So I don't know what they expected from that result. I guess I know it's a big score, but I don't know who the federation thinks that Tunisia is, but they're not a big team. Like they're not a big team, and I expect them to fight. But if they
I
lose
don't.
5-1,
I know this is kind of like a morning after or like a reactionary take, but I'm gonna go with Sweden being the dark horse of this tournament based on not just the performance, not because of who they played, because that really not doesn't tell too much, but because they were able to put up numbers like that. Because in the end, you still have to do it. Like you can have names, but sometimes you have to beat down those teams.
we'll see what the next game holds before I can say that.
But early stages of a dark horse. Let's just put
Yeah,
it that way.
yeah. But
Next game up today, the
I think
biggest.
actually that's the biggest upset.
Of the
Yeah, that's the
tournament.
biggest
Well, we
upset.
just
Yeah.
haven't
So
gotten here at this point, but up
yeah,
to that point, Ecuador was the biggest fail, or not,
yeah,
was the fail. Now Spain
yeah.
tying
Cape
two
Verde.
probably one of the worst teams at this World Cup. But kudos to them for their goalie stood on his head. That dude made some great saves for that team. Spain just could not. Lamine Yamal came in and changed the game a little bit, but he just not enough time to make something happen for them, and I couldn't get a goal in.
Too much Barca players.
But I mean, I've said this to you. I've said this to the group, and I was getting shit for it. I really don't think this Spain team is as strong as people think. I think they're going to go as far as Lamine Yamal takes them.
But as
And
Edwin said, obviously previous World Cup winners have lost first matches, have played bad, and they wind up winning the World Cup. So maybe it's a
but
kick in reality, kick in the ass, and
I think it's
shape you up.
I think it's a different tournament though. With more teams now, there's more possibilities of not being able to make it to the end with that.
We'll
The
see.
thing the thing that he's not wrong about is that even with this loss, there's way potential to still get out of the
Well,
group because
tie,
three teams
still
could
got a point out
potentially
of it. So
yeah. But if for them, it feels like a loss almost at this point. So who's
yeah,
in their group? I can't.
it's Spain, Cape Verde.
Oh, I have my book out. Oh, let's take a
I got
look.
it here.
I got my sticker book. I could check. I have it behind me too. But
Sorry, I have my phone on me.
let's take a look
Uruguay
here.
and Saudi Arabia.
Oh, and we see how that panned out. So they
Exactly.
tied.
That's what I said. That
So,
group is all one. So it's a reset. They got saved, and
yeah, Spain got saved by Uruguay. Now
they're gonna win the group.
tying to Saudi Arabia. So yeah, Lamine
they're
Yamal's
still in
gonna
the
come in and rake everybody else after those
Yep.
performances from Saudi Arabia. Well, Saudi Arabia, kudos to them because they look decent. They look like they were gonna
They did.
take Uruguay. Uruguay got lucky in the end. But anyway,
Next.
interesting. We move on to Belgium, Egypt, which was actually a pretty intense game.
Yeah.
Egypt looked really good. I had Belgium winning 2-1 only because I thought Doku was going to be way too much for any team in the group stages. He's a freaking fire rocket.
Yeah. I had them 2-1 as well, but I'm not surprised because this is Belgium. This is typically what Belgium does. On paper, they look great, and then when it comes to time to perform,
Lukaku coming in to us to almost
Yep.
to save the day.
yeah, he didn't get the goal, obviously his own goal, but his influence, his power, pushing through and everything is good enough to might as well count it as a goal. Doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, no, Egypt looked good. I was a little nervous to see if Egypt was kind of going to bring a little less intensity and not be as good because Salah is aging and a few of their players aren't really.
Marmoush looked great.
Yeah, Marmoush did. Marmoush was pushing and everything, so they kind of they tested Belgium to the end, and they got lucky. Courtois came up with a few big saves, and yeah, I think it was a deserving result. I don't think Belgium deserved to win. So
The game plan was almost genius. It's very elementary from Egypt, but it worked really well because at times 2, 3 guys were defending Doku every time he was on the ball. I think for Belgium, poor from them not to find a solution to that, because you would think if you have 2 or 3 guys on one guy that there's parts of the field that are open for you to make plays, right? So poor tactics going into the second half and not being able to come up with something to counter that, right? Because you would think you can free up Kevin De Bruyne, like someone else, like just to do something. You have Rangers on that team. You have a lot of names on that team that could do something for you. So crazy to think that they couldn't handle that. And then to this last game that just finished now, Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, as we said, 1-1.
America continues to be a disappointment.
Yep. So could only get had to save the game and tie it up at the end, and the goal really wasn't even anything special. It was just the goal.
I mean, both goals because Muslera was trying to catch it. I understand why
can't believe he's still their keeper. What
carry that away? Yeah. But yeah, I don't understand why he was trying to kind of. It seemed like from what the save looked like, it looks like he was trying to scoop it in, and obviously he coughed it up, and that's what happens. Instead of just pushing it away and just no need to mess with it, try to keep it in, just push it away and go on about your business. So yeah, it's just overall just it is what it is. Uruguay again, we already talked about it. We don't know what's going to happen to them because same with the coach, and I don't think that chemistry is going to be there. So if they don't shape up for these next couple games, that might not be good for them.
They might be bottom of that group once that's all said and done. Yeah. So tonight we'll have Iran. New Zealand is the last game of this day.
Yep.
Of this Group G. But that should be an interesting game. I have Iran beating New Zealand 2-0. I think we looked at New Zealand prior to the tournament starting, and they just didn't look like they had good results. So, and Iran is it's a pretty decent team. At least they play pretty hard, good intensity. So I think they should get that result. Hopefully, it's been a bad day for next to me today. So.
Last topic, obviously, the main game that for us.
All right, so hold in that obviously I did a post game reaction on that, but what a hell of a start for the U.S. to this tournament. A couple questions I'll ask you is: do you think it was more the U.S. was just amazing, or was Paraguay just shit? Like what do we think?
I think it's a combination of both, but I think it was the U.S. played so good, and maybe Paraguay didn't expect the U.S. to play as good as they did, so it threw them off, and they just couldn't bounce back from it because the U.S. didn't give up. They didn't give them a chance, and because Paraguay was given certain chances where they were trying to push, and they just had nothing because they couldn't build. They couldn't think of anything to do. So I think it's a combination of both. They were kind of caught off the back foot, and then they just couldn't make up for it, and the U.S. just didn't stop. So.
When I was talking to people about they were asking me like, what do you think the result's going to be? I was like, I think the U.S. is going to win 2-0. I actually thought I was confident that we could get a win because of everything. Just the feeling of the national anthem, the crowds was so pro U.S. finally.
Well, I had 3-1. I had the correct score, and Gio fucked me up. But I had the correct score the whole match. I said, I mean.
People laughed and said the U.S. couldn't get it done. Super interesting.
I mean, I'm not. It's not shocking because the U.S. hasn't pulled results. When is the last time the U.S. has played like this? You know what I mean? They played Germany. I guess these last 2 games to the build-up, they actually played a lot better than before. But it's not a crazy concept to say, well,
we just haven't seen it. We haven't seen it a full 90.
This is what we expect the U.S. to play. This is the intensity, and this is the level that we want them to see from them, because obviously we see that they can produce this, and this is what we've been waiting for. So if they can consistently keep this up, then yeah, it's going to look good for us. But they need to keep this level, intensity, everything. And
here's what I'll say to that, because while I do hear you, like they didn't put a full 90 that convinced us that this was coming. The Uruguay game was a glimpse of it because they beat the shit out of them. Seeing them now, again, not sure. They beat
Yeah,
Uruguay.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
they beat Paraguay in that game that was very intense. And the games where they even lost to Turkey, when they lost to, what was the other? Switzerland? No, I can't remember.
Belgium? No.
Oh, Belgium,
Hmm.
Portugal. All those games had really good first halves. We saw glimpses
Yeah,
of it.
and that's the thing. We saw glimpses of it, so that's been the thing. We see glimpses of it. We didn't see the full thing, so it wasn't like, hey, we expect, you know, this is what we expect to see. It was like we're nervous as shit. Are they gonna play well? Are they gonna pull a Canada? So, so it's
I,
good. I think it was the best opening by far out of all three teams. Like I
besides
said,
Germany,
Mexico.
obviously,
Well,
but
yeah,
Germany
but
didn't
that
play
was
a tough
exactly. So
opponent. Yeah.
of every single game, I think the most intense game was the U.S. game. It was the most exciting because of
Of
the
the one that
combination.
played a proper opponent, yeah, for sure. I think when we look as U.S. fans, super high on how incredible that was to start. The most goals we scored in a game in a World Cup, the biggest margin of goals that we've ever had in a game for a World Cup. Last World Cup, we only scored 3 goals. We scored 4 in one game this World Cup. So many positives. Balogun looking amazing. He could have had 4 goals. One was offside, another one hit.
Yeah,
Like just
but I mean, moving on from this though, it was just great. But Australia's our next test, and obviously here we go because you saw what Australia did to Turkey. They're going to bring the intensity. They're obviously they didn't come out nervous, and everybody that plays the U.S. always wants to beat them. So the U.S. needs to continue and start as strong and not let Australia kind of get into a rhythm and not let that they need to be as intense and as strong as Australia's going to be because I know Australia's going to bring in.
yeah. One thing that I mentioned was I felt like to this next game on Friday, they need to play this game as if it's the first game of the World Cup.
Mhm.
All those same emotions they felt that first game to come out and represent their country. They need to bring all that to that game because they need to treat that game like it's Brazil,
Yeah.
France, Germany. That game you have to play it like it's the final of a
Well,
World Cup.
the good thing is they're playing Australia, who won, and they're not playing Turkey, who lost, and that might have thrown them off. And be like, all right, well, you know what? This is
Yeah,
a
too
losing
much
opponent,
confidence and not
so I
enough
think this is
humble.
kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, we need to be on our toes because Australia just upset Turkey, and that's so we got to watch out.
Australia is going to bring it, and I think it's going to be
Oh
a
yeah,
way, way more difficult game than the Paraguay
oh
game
yeah, it's not
was.
gonna be a 4-1, and if it is, that's gonna generally blow my mind. But I expect if it's a win, it's gonna barely squeak it out, if not a tie.
I have 2-0 US, and I'm hoping that's the way it goes. We'll
Yeah.
see. I think it's going to be much closer than that, but yeah, we have great games tomorrow, so we'll cap the US one there. We're just super excited. Can't believe that was the game. But France Senegal to start tomorrow, Norway Iraq. So
Which
Holland's
is going to
debut
be
for the World
a
Cup.
good France Senegal, obviously champions
Yep.
of Africa,
Hmm.
the true champions of Africa, and obviously France, who's France.
France, one of the
Um,
favorites.
yeah, we'll see if Iraq and Norway either it's going to be a blowout or it's going to be a surprise, and
Argentina, Algeria should
which
be
again
better
should
than
be a good
people
game.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah,
And
people
then the cap at the night, I think a lot of people are probably going to not watch is Austria
so
Jordan.
midnight.
It's a yeah midnight Eastern.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, I
that's a
won't be
tough
there.
one. I feel bad. I'm sure people will attend, but I don't think it'll be the
Oh, it's the
strongest
East
watch
Coast
game
from
of
9 o'clock. Yeah.
yeah. So but
Well, maybe because people, the tickets went down because nobody wanted to go to the game and the lowered prices. People are like, oh, screw it. At least I get to go to World Cup games. So
that's true.
hopefully, for all these teams, like I said, I don't care who it is. I don't care what team is playing. I hope that the stadiums fill out because fuck FIFA. Um, and again, just to enjoy it. Enjoy something that obviously you see all the European fans coming here and loving what America actually is and not what they see on TV. So, there's two sides to the coin, and
And I
I'm
will
fine.
echo the statements we've made before the start of the World Cup. We know 48 teams. A lot of people were upset about, thought it was going
Even
to
the UEFA
dilute the
president.
tournament.
Yep.
Yeah. I really
I
would say
love these small teams showing up.
besides the 2 games that have been blowouts, all the games have been close. None of the games have been super like
Hmm.
blown out of the water. I hope it continues. I think that for us, the lovers of the game of this world's beautiful game, I think it's just been amazing to watch so far, and I hope it continues. And I think as the group stages go along, and we get to those last games, I think you're only going to see it get tougher and tougher. And I don't foresee this getting worse. I think it's the teams that are going to continue to play with pride will keep doing so. and these little teams are going to give their people something to be proud about. So
Hell yeah.
I hope everyone continues watching these games and is super excited. For all of us U.S. fans, even if you root for another country, just continue to support the team. This is where you're from. This is where you live. I get it. There's a lot of shit going on around that has nothing to do with the actual game. These players are playing for you. They're playing for us. We were born and raised in a country that gave us a lot of shit that we wouldn't have had being from these other places around the world. So I have a lot of pride of being an American.
I served this country, so obviously,
we root. I choke every time the national anthem plays. I hope you do as well, because at the end of the day, this is where we live. This is where we're proud to be Americans. We get to live the best life possible. So kudos to everyone that's watching and supporting. Even if you don't love the game, just continue to watch and support the U.S. because we just want to make a deep run, hopefully win the whole damn thing. But fucking go USA, baby. Let's go.
Justice for Haiti.
And on that note, we out. Watch the rest of the World Cup, baby. We'll have another, hopefully, update after the next game of the World Cup. But thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, watch, repost, share, do all the things. Have a good one, everyone. Enjoy the World Cup.
Deuces.
Powered by Riverside.
Dead Sea's a real one.
Yes.